What's up, guys? I'm Nate Powers.
And I'm Thomas King.
Today, we have a very special podcast for you on Stix&Crits. We're going to be talking about first our top 5 nostalgic games of the 90s.
Yeah, boy.
Which I think we got a pretty good list. We haven't seen each other's lists yet, so this would be exciting to see, how they stack up to each other.
There's going to be some weird games.
And then we're going to go roll into tabletop when we're talking about modular games versus homebrew games.
Yeah, which is awesome.
All right.
So, how do we want to start this?
Oh, well, first of all, the 90s. One of the greatest decades of gaming. Coming off of a pretty, there are classic games in the 80s, but you had the whole, the gaming industry debacle of the late 70s, early 80s.
Yep.
Which almost ruined the industry, so the 80s was pretty much a rebuilding process. You have a lot of great games like Super Toads. What's that? That's the game?
Battletoads?
Is that it?
Battletoads?
Battletoads, yeah. Classic hard platforming games like that.
This is why I'm the gaming guy.
Yeah, and I'm the tabletop guy. I don't really have much gaming experience with games before the 90s, really. I played some, like original Street Fighter and,
Original Street Fighter was really bad.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. What are you talking about?
Street Fighter 2.
Super Street Fighter 2 was the one.
Was the good one, yes.
Original Mario, Galaga.
Galaga's awesome.
Galaga's awesome. Yeah, so a lot of classic games I've played, but I never really delved into gaming until the 90s because I'm a 90s kid. But yeah, you have a ton of great classic games, at least for our generation. And I think our lists are really going to show for it because these games I think stand the test of time for.
So let's preface this with nostalgic games, right? We're going for nostalgia. Mm-hmm. So these games are on a personal level.
Right.
For each of us and to all of you guys out there. Everybody's lists are going to be different, I think.
Absolutely.
There might be some crossover here and there, but nostalgic games, that's man, I remember when I was playing this and I was eating Twizzlers in my mom's basement.
Exactly.
And fucking around, stuff like that.
Passing the sticks to all your neighborhood friends because you're the only one with the Sega.
Exactly.
Somebody else had the Nintendo. Somebody else had the PlayStation.
Or when you finally got the N64 and everyone had 4 controllers.
Exactly. Or when everybody got their Game Boy and their System Links.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was playing
link cables.
Yeah.
Love that shit. Oh my god.
Oracle, Four Seasons, those kind of games.
Can I just count all of the Game Boy stuff as just nostalgic?
Oh yeah, I would say
just the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance era.
Yeah, well, Nintendo really innovated. They created the portable gaming enterprise.
Yeah.
They are the forerunners. Look at the Switch. The Switch is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it ever since they were incepted. Almost every Nintendo Game Boy game is a classic in my eyes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. There's some bad ones. There's obviously bad games for every system.
Yeah, but they have a huge collection, which I'm sure
massive.
most of us haven't even gotten through a quarter.
Yeah,
of it.
there are classic games that I've never played that you've never played.
Yeah.
And it's
too many
crazy.
of them.
So let's start off our list with number 5. So I would like to go first because I'm really excited about this one. My number 5 pick for my most nostalgic game of the 90s is Age of Empires 2.
Ooh.
Age of Empires 2, got to be one of my favorite games ever of all time. In any list, that's in it. I probably spent more hours playing this game than any game that I've ever played.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Age of Empires 2 is an awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
That was for me, that was one of my first jumps into PC gaming. Mm-hmm. That's when I stayed on my PC the most with Age of Empires 2.
Exactly, me too.
And maybe a couple other examples.
Yeah. But no, it's just first of all the historical factor, right? It's a game where you're learning.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of historical knowledge, and I'm kind of a history buff just in general of medieval history, ancient history, even Civil War era history.
Yeah.
So that game just really threw me into the thralls of that whole part of my life, that research into the history of mankind.
I feel like if you liked Age of Empires, you have to be some kind of a history nerd.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's no way you could just jump into Age of Empires.
And you're probably into D&D and other RPGs.
Yeah,
because it's
sure.
very thematic. But not just the gameplay of it, because it's one of the best RTS games of all time.
Yeah.
But it also has a really great map construction system. You can create entire campaigns in that game, and this is in 1999, 2000. Yeah. I remember when I started playing the game when I was 9 or 10. I remember we had Windows 2000. My dad just bought the computer, and I bitched and whined and moaned because I had played original Age of Empires,
Right.
which is a good game in its own right, but it's nothing on Age of Empires.
It's
2.
rough, yeah. It's
and
rough.
I nagged and nagged and nagged, and I finally got it. And the first night I got it, I think I stayed up 8 hours overnight. 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid on the computer, just rocking this game out. But yeah, just the simulated battles, the thematics of it. All the expansions were knockout
Yeah,
wins.
they were great. Every single one of them. They added a different aspect to the game that there wasn't there before, and changed it in such a way that you felt like you were playing a different version of the game.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being the same game with just a couple add-ons.
Yeah, and
Super
like
good.
and like it's not just we're adding a new country with its own like pitfalls and elite units and stuff like that, but it also brings in the whole campaign setting. You're learning more about the cultures.
Yeah.
And that's
And also
it's just an all-in-one great game.
And also the fun of like the online play.
Oh, the online was crazy.
The online play was so awesome.
I used to play. I only played novice tier, the lowest tier that you could get in, and I would routinely get my ass kicked because I never used key bindings. But
You didn't
still
need
love.
them. You didn't need them.
You kind of did.
Like
that game was savage.
it was pretty savage, but if you built yourself like a fortress,
That was my strategy.
If you built your what I
Wall
used,
everything off.
yeah, what I used to do is I would actually build 2 levels of walls.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have one, and then there'd be towers, and then there'd be another layer of walls, and then there'd be I'd have 7 harbors with just
Yep.
ships.
And then I just stock the towers with archers, 5 archers and everything.
That's it,
That would
yeah.
be my population cap.
That's
I wouldn't
it,
even
man.
raid people. I would just build a wonder.
Defense, man.
Yeah.
Defense. No, I went after the relics.
The relics is a good one too.
Relic hunting. That's why I picked the. I would always, if I was playing online, I would pick the Persians for those goddamn elephants.
The elephants are
and
disgusting.
just send a group of 10 elephants off with a bunch of archers, and that's it. You're good to go.
Yep. So what's your number 5? Colin?
Age of Empires. So my number 5 is actually Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Roller Coaster Tycoon is a game I'm also very familiar with.
I spent so many hours building roller coasters, theme parks, going through all of the little, I wouldn't call them campaigns, the scenarios.
Yeah.
They're more like scenarios. And then eventually, even if you got bored in Roller Coaster Tycoon, you could always kill your customers.
Yeah, exactly. That I was about to say. I spent many a nights building the greatest death trap
Death
ever.
coasters.
Yep.
Yeah, just a bunch of death
Just
coasters.
launching them off, and the best was when you would hit try to make targets for it. So I would send the roller coasters over and hit the pond.
Yeah.
That I would do,
Yeah.
and I'd make a little bullseye out of it and see where it would land. Try to
I would
build
always
it.
I would always try and build a roller coaster where so I would build a new section of the park and just keep it closed away, and then I'd open it up, and because of the great AI in that game, everybody would flood to new sections
Yeah.
of the parks. So I would build a roller coaster. So evil, but I would build a roller coaster that would launch onto the other section of the new park. So where the most people would be, it would just fall
Just
all
slaughter
over
them.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're terrible.
There's 25 people died in an accident. It's whoa. And people still came to that park.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would also pay $120 for
well,
entrance.
yeah, and but the way that's a good point, because if you rate the whole AI system, is if the prices are too high, they won't do it.
Yeah.
But you just charge a astronomical entrance fee, and then you make all your food dirt cheap.
Yeah,
And they
your
just
food
would
and
buy
your
so
rides.
much. Yep, exactly. No, I think games like that were actually good for kids in the 90s, just because it gives you kind of a little avenue for you to experiment with that little darker side of your brain. I mean, it really did.
I was gonna say your creativity, but sure, that.
No,
also
I mean
bleeds
creativity,
into it.
but you think oh, I'm gonna kill all these people, and then you get that out of your system, and then you don't shoot up schools like all these millennials do. But that's a topic for another day, guys.
Roller Coaster Tycoon was just so much fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. And it looked really great for its time.
it looked okay.
I mean, were you rocking a good graphic system? Because
I mean, no. But I mean, even for the time, it looked okay. Age of Empires still looked way better than it.
Yeah, well,
leagues ahead.
it's a Microsoft game.
And yeah, that's true. But still, at the same time, it didn't look great. When they jumped to 3, it looked great, but the game played like dog shit.
Yeah,
Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 was a debacle.
I never played it.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
They even put in a thing where you could ride your roller coaster, so they put you in a first person view of your roller coaster.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it was that whole thing was so laggy that it was pointless.
Yeah.
You couldn't even use it.
That's the kind of catch-22 of cinematics in the 90s. Playing any Blizzard game,
Yeah.
you'd have to sit there and let it buffer for fucking 10 minutes before you could watch the awesome cinematic that they worked years on.
Yeah, and it would take you half an hour to watch it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, many a night's lost to Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
building shit.
All right, so number 4, my number 4. And let me just, my phone died. I think I remember. My
It's a good start.
yeah, my number 4 game, and I think this is probably on everyone's list somewhere in the top 10. Aladdin, the Disney Aladdin game.
We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, one of the hardest freaking games that a kid could play in the 90s.
What was it, that level with the genie? Where it was like genies, or what the fuck was it? He was like, genie was a bunch of platforms and there was like clouds and shit. You know?
It was a cloud hopping level.
Yeah, that was
nuts.
crazy.
But even like starting off in Agrabah, where you're just running through and trying to get around the guards and the snake charmers, like that's a hard first level. And then you have just the brutality. You have the brutality of the jackpot system.
Yeah,
where it's like, you lose all your shit. And then
this game was so fucking rude.
And it was a relatively short game. Like there weren't that many levels to it. I think it's like 10, 15 levels.
I was gonna say it was like 10 or 12, I think.
Yeah, and it's still it took you days to beat because you have to run through each level a million
because it was
times.
like merciless Nintendo era difficulty. Like,
but it made the game great, and it was perfect platformer.
Yeah,
really, I think.
I mean, it was good.
No,
yeah, like
perfect platformer.
They had problems. I remember like going back and playing it like a few years ago, playing like jumping on those I don't even remember what the hell they're called. Those little awnings. You know how you could jump on the awnings?
Yeah, and bounce up.
Like the sprites were horrible. And
well, which version were you playing?
The Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
See,
one.
that's why the Sega version is much better.
Yeah.
You know, they're two different versions, right? They have different level structure and stuff like that.
So yeah, but the
Sega
Nintendo version I thought was the one I think
the
most people played. It was like
no, the popular one was the Sega version because the Sega version was harder, and it was better graphics.
Oh, I could believe it was better graphics for sure.
Yeah,
Nintendo
that was the more
always
popular
subpar graphics.
Yeah,
as compared to everyone else, anyways. Yeah. Check that for you. Check that. I think
fact
most
check
people.
Us. I'm pretty sure I'm right because I just played the Sega version and Nintendo version.
I think most
like
people
6
played
months
the
ago.
Nintendo version. I think most people played the Nintendo version.
Well, we can look at sales. Look up sales right now.
Look up sales right now.
Yeah, which sold more over time.
This is gonna take probably an hour and a half.
Remember how we said that we do our research? We lied.
We didn't do it on this one.
But yeah, no, Aladdin was just, and thematically it was great. The 90s was also a really great Disney movie era.
Yeah.
You had Aladdin, Mulan, Hercules, all these fantastic classics that me and my family spent hours rewatching and watching, on holidays and all that stuff. I mean, this was the generation of Disney movies where we were like reciting every line of the movie to each other throughout the house while we were just hanging around. But I grew up in a house of weirdos, so
Yeah, it's not coming up.
it's not.
I'm gonna have to look up some really obscure site to find it.
Yeah, it's okay. What's your number 4?
We won't hang around my number 4 too much because mine is Age of Empires 2.
Oh, okay. So
So
got a little info.
I
already
mean,
on
come
that.
on, yeah.
It's pretty fantastic. All right, well then, what's your number 3?
My number 3, fittingly enough, is Super Mario 3.
Oh, beautiful. That's a good pick.
Come on, man. Like Tanuki Mario, like the way the world was structured.
It was much more beautiful to look at.
It was,
than
yeah,
the
it was
original Marios.
like, yeah, artistically, it was fucking gorgeous. All the enemy designs are like ramped up.
Yep.
It's hard as shit.
Yeah, puzzle level, the level design. Pretty not straightforward.
I still love like the random Toad House jackpot shit. Like that was fun as hell.
Yep, finding Yoshi for the first time.
Yep.
Was
And
always
then
like
killing
the
him.
best. Yeah, relentlessly.
All the time. Being able to stockpile your power ups.
Yeah, that was nice.
That
That was
was-
a really good maneuver for them.
That was a huge thing for the Mario series.
Yeah, and then Super Mario 3. That was the first one with the map, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like you didn't have to restart the whole fucking game every time.
No, but you would end up going back anyway. So.
No, but
No, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Super
you're not
Mario
starting
1
from
and
level
2, you had to
one,
start
so-
from level 1.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're not. That's not happening. Yeah. But that one, and I know most people think of it as like the gem of Mario games.
Yeah, and it really is.
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there. The only one recently, because I played Odyssey. I think Odyssey is on par with 3.
Yeah,
Like, and I know they're 2D versus 3D.
right.
But
And
it still
Odyssey
doesn't.
has so much more crazy level.
Odyssey's awesome.
But see, I put Super Mario 64 over Super Mario 3. And you didn't even think of putting that on your list, did you?
64.
Yeah, that was
No,
that
because-
was like one of the best.
No, because
classic Nintendo games.
three is more nostalgic to me.
You
Like
think so?
I loved 60. Yeah, 64 is one of my favorite Mario games, but 3 has that nostalgia where like it was the first game that really, really pulled me in to be like, I don't want to get off this system.
I don't know, man. I think for me, there's no more nostalgic feeling than slinging Bowser off of the platform. I mean, like that is
okay.
like one of the most nostalgic '90s feelings you can have.
Sure, but like at the same time, like
Collecting all your stars, all your red coins.
You're talking like, again, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But still, that was the first 3D Mario game in that aspect. Like, it brought in a lot of new things to Mario. It changed the game, and it was great. And everybody knows it's great.
And it really changed the whole market of games to come.
Yeah, it really did.
Which really actually segues into my number 3, a classic 3D platformer with tons of things to collect, Banjo and Kazooie.
Oh my God, really?
Banjo and Kazooie from our boys over at Rare. I think it's one of the most underrated classics of the '90s. It's I think on par with like game design and like graphically for its time with Super Mario 64. And in some ways, I think it looks better than Super Mario 64.
I mean, I can see it's more colorful for sure.
I also like the story of it a lot better.
Okay.
Hunting down the witch. The witch is hilarious, right? Like
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it had so many collectibles. It probably had the same amount of collectibles as Super Mario 64.
It's up there in like fucking collectathon.
But I think I've beat that game like 3 or 4 different times throughout my childhood and adulthood.
See, I never got the whole appeal to the Banjo-Kazooie.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. It's all right.
I mean, think of it this way: in Mario 64, Mario could kind of just do Mario things. But in Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo did Banjo things and Kazooie did Kazooie things.
Sure.
And like that just opens up the level design so much more. Like you had to unlock different tiers and abilities for the different characters to do different stuff. Like you couldn't even fly with Kazooie until like after the first like 5th of the game. And then all of the other parts of the map that where you have to fly over to get to it, then you can access it.
Right.
It's like it comes back to certain
that's
parts
true.
of the
Yeah, that's like traditional kind of
for pure level design.
game
I think it's pretty much number 1, number 2. It's really up there for that generation.
Wow.
And if you haven't played it, have you played it?
Yeah, I've played it. I just didn't like it.
You need to beat it.
I'm
you
just
need
not
to play through the whole game.
Not into the Banjo-Kazooie games.
I mean, you don't really like the like overly stupid silliness of games anyway.
No, I do.
It's very much like a
I do like the silliness. Like one of my other favorite games, which I actually wanted to make this list, but was like Gex the Gecko.
Oh, Gex was a lot of fun. But that was a different
hilarious.
Type of comedy.
That was
that was smart
funny.
comedy.
Yeah, but it was also very stupid too.
Yeah, it was like classic. They were going for the whole like James Bond feel.
Oh yeah.
So like it was very like corny 60s.
He's a gecko.
Yeah.
And by the way, he would whoop the Geico Gecko's ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying. I just want to put that out there.
All right. So number 2. What's your number 2 there?
My number 2 is easily one of my favorite games of all time. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Wow. You know, I was debating putting this in my number 2 slot as well.
Really?
Yeah, I think and the funny thing is, I never actually officially beat Final Fantasy Tactics.
Really?
I got really close to the end, but my characters were a little underpowered, and I was trapped. I was trapped in a cutscene where I was just getting fucking killed in the first round every time.
Did you not have a white mage or something?
No, I did, but
Okay.
I didn't spend the time grinding like I should have up until that point. So I was like trapped in this like circle of death, and I just was like fuck this and broke my controller. I mean, it was bad because I just couldn't get out of it, and I was so far into the game. I'd spent so many hours, but easily one of the best Square Enix games ever.
Yeah.
I mean, like the class system, the story is phenomenal. It's one of
Yes.
I mean, Final Fantasy is just chock full of great stories.
Just the way the game starts off, like it starts you off and everything goes to shit so quickly.
Yeah, you're in the middle of a war.
Like it's normally like every other Final Fantasy game, it kind of follows the same pattern where it's like, okay, we're gonna introduce you to these characters, whatever kingdom worlds they're in.
They're all brooding and smoldering with their dark history.
Yeah,
but you're making the history,
and it's slowly gonna go to shit.
Yep.
But in Final Fantasy Tactics, it's just like, hey, you're in the shit right now. Like,
and
it's
you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's betrayal, and there's loss, and there's love, and there's friendship,
everything.
and there's overcoming your pitfalls, and
it's just the system, like the game mechanics, the battle system are fucking flawless.
There's no problems with it, and it's challenging, but not overbearingly so.
No, you have to use.
But you have to grind, and I think as a gamer growing up, that was one of the first games that really challenged me. Because like I played Final Fantasy 6, 7, 8, all the other like real time or turn-based games, but making it into like basically a chess game.
Yeah.
It really brings out the intellect and the strategic mind.
Yeah, how many times would you try to look around the board to see like positioning and like movement patterns and
and where to drop your spells.
Yeah, and try to
when
figure
you
out
need
like
to heal.
what's the best thing for you? What's the best way to approach this problem?
How should I what order should I summon all of my summons in?
Yeah.
All of them, because I immediately got them as soon as possible.
But I mean, like, also with the class system was awesome. Like, there was such a huge range of classes.
Yeah, and
in
you
that
could
game.
mix and match all the different talents with the different classes.
Yep.
Like you train a knight. My go-to for Ramza was I would train him up in knight first so I could get all the breaks, right? And then I would make him into a dragoon so I could jump everywhere, right? And then I would have a rogue or like a thief, that was also mixed with a ninja so they could steal and throw. And I'd have them as a ninja with all the ninja stats, but then have thieving, so you could steal experience, steal life, all that stuff. Like just great. And then
you always need a thief.
Yeah.
You always need a thief.
And then like the most maxed out white mage ever, because being able to cure 3 everybody.
Yeah,
you need that.
You need a white mage and a black mage always.
And the black mage needs to know summoning, and the white mage needs to know time magic
all the time.
Hasting everybody. I mean, like just. So much strategy goes
in that
game.
There's so much. I fucking love it.
It's such a deep
and
game.
I don't understand why there isn't a new one. I'm very upset.
Well, the one for Game Boy Advance that came out in the early 2000s was actually
the one with the
judge system,
which was great.
That was respectively a good game. I wasn't the biggest fan of the judge system.
I thought it was cool.
I mean, it's cool how it you have to innovate your tactics and you have to change things up constantly.
Yeah.
But I didn't like how it. I didn't have enough time to really explore my party build. I also didn't like how I liked how they implemented different races that you could get, but I didn't like how you couldn't make them all every class.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't like only certain races. I don't know what they call the rabbit people, but they were the only ones who could be fencers. I didn't like that. But the storyline of it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it had a great story.
I'm actually playing through it right now.
Are you?
On my SD.
What the hell is it called?
It's Game Boy Tactics or Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Advance?
Yeah. That's it.
Was it?
Yep. Like Return to
I'm thinking of the other one then. What the hell was it? Not Berserkers. Whatever. I'll figure it out. But they need to make a new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least remaster it.
I'll take a remaster.
I would love a remaster.
I would love a brand new one with new mechanics and everything.
Awesome sprites.
I think I have Tactics on. I have it on my PlayStation.
Yeah, I have the PlayStation Disc. I found it the other day.
Yeah, that's fucking dope. I have that Game Boy. I have it on my computer, on my phone. I just have it everywhere.
Wait, do you really?
Yeah.
I know I can get it on my phone, but I didn't know you could get it on computer.
Yes, we're not going to talk about this here. We'll talk about it.
Okay. So my number 2, kind of funny we're talking about Square Enix because I have a Square Enix game at my number 2. Final Fantasy VII is my number 2 game. While Final Fantasy Tactics is one of the best games that I've ever played in, I've poured a lot of hours into it. I don't think any game besides the number 1 spot really encapsulates gaming for me as a child and as a young adult more than Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII broke me into the RPG world. Yeah. It's the first RPG I ever played, and it's the game. Wow. It's the game that really got me into the whole fantasy, sci-fi, cyberpunk, just mindset of story and world building and possibilities for combats and just gaming in general. I love RPGs are hands down my favorite genre of games.
Yeah,
I almost exclusively play RPGs.
Expand your horizons, son.
No,
damn.
I mean I play other games, but
I know RPGs are
most multiplayer games piss me off because the people online are edgelords, neckbeards. They're awful people, or they're angry 13-year-olds who have no parental supervision. So I have no patience for that.
Yeah.
And then I like puzzle games too and stuff like that, but there's just nothing better than a good RPG. Just delving into the story and really immersing yourself in the world that's created.
Yeah, that's really true. You get lost inside those worlds, and especially Final Fantasy VII. It introduces you to this weird kind of post-war torn world. Everybody has their own ideals, and they're trying to push them on you. And
yeah, it's a great.
Still, the ones where you have to cross dress.
Yeah, it's silly. It's got its jokes. It's a great social dialogue on like government.
Yeah.
As well. And conspiracy and all that stuff.
That's still the best Final Fantasy.
And it has the best characters in it of any Final Fantasy game, except for Auron. Auron is probably my like top 3 favorite Final Fantasy characters.
That's crazy.
But no, like Cloud, Sephiroth, even Barret, Aerith, Tifa. I mean, the cast is just phenomenal.
Yeah, people always talk about Kefka from 6. And I still
Kefka's mad cool.
Kefka's the Joker. He's just essentially just the Joker. I think Sephiroth is still
the best villain. Yeah. Sephiroth is the best villain.
He's the best villain in Final Fantasy. He's the most iconic.
Yeah.
He's a super badass. Mm-hmm. And that sword is 30 feet long. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean, you can't deal. One of the coolest moments is when you go back to Cloud's hometown. And he's having like the flashback memories of him going on his first mission with Sephiroth.
Yeah.
And you're doing like 13 damage, and then he just like fucking one-shots everything. Is blowing it up with all the fire. It's just, Jesus, this guy, how am I going to fight him? Because you know he's the bad guy from Disc 1.
Yeah. From Disc 1.
Yeah.
Disc 1.
Back in the day, kids, we used to have play games on 3 discs. 4 discs for Final Fantasy 9.
That'll never happen again.
I also really liked Final Fantasy 9, but it doesn't break my top 10.
I didn't like it. Everybody loves that one.
I love it, man.
I don't
Like
get it.
Vivi's story is mad cool.
I played I think 20 hours at least, and I just like lost interest.
It's a sillier game. It's not as serious, it's not as brooding, it's not as dark. It's much more like medieval and happy. And like if you're more into like a darker Final Fantasy, which most of the other Final Fantasy games are really dark like that. Like really 6, 7, and 8 are really dark.
Yeah, as compared to the rest.
As compared to 9 and 10.
Like I think you could throw 4 in there too. Like,
yeah, 4. I never played 4.
4's great.
Yeah,
4's great.
I've heard.
We gotta get you playing that.
I know. I need to get into all of them. So what's your number one?
So my number one is probably.
Hold on, before you say anything, I think our number ones are the same. Without us talking, I'm pretty sure our number ones are the same.
I feel like
if I had to guess,
like this would be an obvious choice. So my number one is not any mind-blowingly amazing game, but it's a game that like cultivated a culture around it, and it started on fucking demo discs of all things. My number one is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so I was 100% wrong. I totally thought we were gonna have the same one.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater like is the most nostalgic game because to me, anyways, personally, because me and all of my friends would scramble to all get the demo discs. We'd go to each other's house. If someone didn't have it, we'd go to that person's house and play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater until the game like came out and someone had it, and we played it. And then we all tried skateboarding.
Yep. And
then we all watched Tony Hawk skateboard and pull his 900s and all this fucking bullshit.
Yep.
And it just reminds me of like a time where I would be sitting there like in my house with a couple of my friends after school, and we got the bags of fucking Doritos, some pizza,
some Mountain Dew.
I didn't drink Mountain Dew.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
I lived off Mountain Dew.
I was a juice drinker, man. I just drank tons of juice.
I mean, we would drink Mountain Dew and Surge.
I was drinking beers when I was 12.
I grew up on bourbon.
You're just sitting like it just reminds me of a simpler time.
Yeah.
Like there's no violence in this video game.
Yeah.
Like there's none. You're just sitting there and it's still very like foundationally a competitive video game.
Oh yeah,
because you're just trying to break each other's high scores.
Absolutely, and also the soundtrack is off the hook.
Dope.
I mean, like
always dope.
I was a punk kid growing up. I love rock. I love metal. I like punk, and like playing Tony Hawk. Any of the Tony Hawk games, because I didn't start with one. I eventually played one. I started with 2 on PlayStation.
Still a great
it's
one.
It's still really great. And like doing like I remember like finding the secret alien level.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff,
Jesus.
and you have to get like all the like you can do like the portrait challenges and stuff like that, and then it's just like the different like the challenges and like the graffiti game. That's a lot of fun.
Oh my god!
Like all the different game types was just they had such a variety of ways. Like it's just, like you said, it's just skateboarding.
I also remember like my friend was watching like the first time my friend came over and I had the full game and I'm sitting there I'm like, oh, look at these cool tricks I'm pulling, and he's like you're doing it wrong. I was like, what do you mean I'm doing it wrong?
You have the manual in between all of those tricks.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I could do this?
My combos are insane.
I could do this? So I'm adding like these 30,000 point tricks to like manualing to everything.
Manualing to a grind, to a backside.
Yeah, and I was like, I did not know I could do any of this.
Such a great
And
game.
then I would just sit there for hours just practicing. So like,
Yep.
flip, boom, nope, fall over, try it again. Like,
yeah. Or like if you think you're going to fuck up a trick, you can just go right into like a vert move.
Yeah.
Right on the rim of the half pipe. Stuff just
And the reason I say this is nostalgic is because this is the number one most nostalgic game is because me and my friends connected so much on this. Mm-hmm. We tried stupid shit together because of it.
Yep.
And then this brought it about a whole nother thing.
Of actually trying to skateboard in real life.
Of actually trying to skateboard in real life. And then 5 years later down the road, I want to say 5, it was probably more. Viva La Bam.
Yep.
Bam Margera. And we all knew Bam because of skateboarding. Yep. That whole thing, all those like years of experience.
Yep. I knew all of the skateboarders of the 90s. My favorite was Chad Muska.
Why did everyone like Chad Muska?
Because he looked so cool. He had such swag for a white boy.
I mean, sure, yeah.
He really did. He had like the cool gloves on, you know? And he had the backwards cap and the fucking who did he rock? I think it was like a Rockets jersey or a Pistons jersey.
I don't fucking
I can't remember, but he rocked a cool jersey.
I want to say Pistons just because
the Pistons were rocking
the bad boy
90s,
Pistons make sense.
Okay, so yeah, your number one is completely different, but my number one also cultivated an entire culture and really changed the entire fabric of video gaming, pretty much up until today, and especially this year and last year. And my number one nostalgia game is Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, let's be honest. If you grew up in the 90s, even the late 80s, you played Pokemon.
Yeah.
You and all your friends got it. Every single version. You got a system link. You were trading. You were becoming a master. We're all Pokemon masters if you grew up in the 90s. I mean, even my sisters. Yeah. And my sisters don't like really video game that hard like I do. And we all had our version. I had yellow. They had red and blue. You know, and my cousins too. We all between all of us, we had multiple copies of each different version.
Of course.
And we all maxed out our Pokédexes. But now you go to 2016, 2017, 2018 with Pokemon Go. All the old heads who grew up playing that game are loving this shit. Yeah. This is what you wanted to do as a child. You wanted to literally scour the globe and find these guys, and you can do it.
Yeah, and you can. You walk around and go find your Pokemon.
And they would not have been able to do that if they did not set it up with one of the best games. Now, arguably, Red and Blue are the worst games ever made for a Pokemon game.
Yeah, I mean, sure, yeah.
I mean, the statting is very skewed to like psychic types. There are a lot of bugs that's because
like
the
focus two legendaries were both psychic.
Well, not legendaries, just like psychic. So like everything was based. All of the psychic attacks were based on special, and nobody really had special defense. Everything was based on regular defense, and also it had no weakness because there was only one bug move, pin missile, but that only did 10 damage. There was no ghost type move that did damage.
That was Fury Cutter, wasn't there?
Yeah, but Fury Cutter was second generation.
Oh shit.
Let's see. There was no ghost type move. The only one was Nightshade, and that only did a set amount of damage. It only did 40 HP of damage. It didn't do like a power.
Stupid.
And then there were a lot of fighting types that just didn't have a lot of good moves. And like you would have to get a fighting type to get through a lot of the rock Pokemon.
Yeah.
So like the system had its flaws, had a lot of glitches. But again, there's nothing more nostalgic than breaking your fucking blue version by getting 99 Master Balls and finding missing number.
Yeah.
And just crashing everything. And I think the only safe glitch you could do was getting Mew, which that was ideal.
I mean,
you get Mew right off the bat.
Missing No wasn't such a bad one.
No, Missing No ruined your game.
Nah.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, not all the time. It didn't ruin your game all the time.
It ruined your game.
There was times, yeah, sure. I've had those versions that got erased. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or you have to
you couldn't like my green version wasn't affected by it.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Well, you had. I've never even seen a green version.
I have it. It's upstate, man. I gotta find it. Yeah, I will find it and come bring it to you.
Pixar didn't happen.
I will put it right here.
Yeah, it should.
Actually, no, I won't because Nintendo will probably sue us into the ground.
What? And Microsoft and Sony won't.
No, they won't.
Or Wizards,
no.
Or
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
No,
we're good.
No, we're fine.
Yeah, and then you had the toxic Mega Drain.
Yeah.
Glitch. You know about that?
Yeah.
So like it was a very glitchy game, but just the idea of Pokemon, the gameplay itself, going all over Kanto, catching every Pokemon, beating Gary or whatever asshole name you would give him, because I would always name him douchebag or something like that. It just gave kids that thirst for adventure, that thirst for going out and becoming what you want to do, becoming what you want to be.
I want
to be the very best at it.
Yeah, I mean that's what Pokemon was all about. That like enthralled the world.
Yeah, it really did.
The entire world, like.
And it spawned a really great trading card game. which everybody has those cards.
Yeah, that was fun for a while.
It was. I mean,
sold them
it's
last
not Magic
year.
the Gathering, but,
No, but
it's still a fun game.
I bet it was definitely more popular than Magic at some point.
I don't know.
Just because
It's
it was
never
Pokemon.
been more popular.
Just because it was Pokemon.
Never once had it ever sold out. No. I will tell you a fact that I have looked up a few times. No card game has ever outsold Magic the Gathering in a year.
I bet poker has.
Poker's not a trading card game.
They still have their own cards.
It's true. There are cards for every general card. Anyway. But anyway, so yeah, let us know what your top 5 nostalgic games are. If you're a 90s kid, let's see how ours compare. If you grew up in like the 2000s, I'd like to know what is really nostalgic for you, especially like if you were born in like 2000, 2001. Some of these might cross over. You might have some newer games because I didn't include any game that was over 1999 and release date.
No. Oh shit.
No, I didn't.
We're old.
Yeah, we are, dude. And if you grew up like in the like the 70s or 80s, what were the nostalgic games for you? I'd like to know. But now we're going to transition into our tabletop segment.
Yeah,
of
boy.
the show. But first, a word from our sponsors at
Roll4Dice.com.
those guys. We love them.
This fucking guy. Roll4Dice.com is a monthly subscription where you can pick up tons of dice, miniatures, even some Legos, and the great little trinkets that they supply you monthly. Look at that sexiness. These guys came up with a brilliant idea to get people on a monthly subscription. So instead of going around perusing at stores, having to interact with human beings, you can just pick them up on their Patreon. And it's lovely. You can get 4 sets, you can get minis. They just supply you with everything you need.
I get kind of sick of going online to Etsy and trying to find specific users and everything, but they have it all right there on their website. And it's great to have that.
So don't forget to check out Roll4Dice.com and their accompanying Patreon. All the links will be down below.
All right, and welcome back, guys. They're a great sponsor, aren't they?
Yeah.
I really love their product. Their whole the idea. It's just fun.
The idea of just having a monthly.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Just like getting the dice or the minis or whatever.
You can change it up however you want. The whole like monthly subscription for things is just phenomenal because you pay a really low price and you constantly get stuff.
Yeah.
Ever since like loot boxes came out, which I don't have a loot box subscription, but just ever since that came out, I've always been like on board with anybody who's rocking that idea.
Yeah, it's so good. You just pay, you get it whenever, you know when you're going to get it. You don't have to go actively seeking for stuff.
You have something to be excited for every month.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait for my next dice.
Exactly.
I just got the neon, like that neon yellow set.
Yeah.
It's
It looks
fucking
nice.
dope.
Speaking of dice, we're going to roll into our tabletop segment of the show.
Oh, clever boy.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about DMing specific modules versus homebrew. Now, I personally have a lot of experience running modular games. I've been playing D&D for almost 15 years now.
It's crazy.
A long time. You're a little more versed in the homebrew world.
Homebrew, yeah.
I've done a good amount of homebrew, but you've exclusively done homebrew in your D&D experience.
Yeah, so I did homebrew for a year for a campaign. I did, soup to nuts everything.
Right.
Like built the characters, the world, the pantheon of gods, everything.
Yeah, and yesterday you were showing me you found your old folder of all your stuff.
Yeah, so
And
exciting.
it was really cool. You did a better job than I have ever done of like making things for the players to give to the players, like item cards and like letters and maps. Like your maps were really cool.
All that super that stuff, those little details excite me.
Yeah.
Like I found I showed you the maps of the ships and I had a battle arena map built out. I also got lucky because one of my players is an architect, so he has those big blueprint printers.
Yep.
So he's like,
That's a big help.
send me an image and I'll print it out.
That's
And
cool.
I was like, that's dope.
But yeah, so one of the biggest things about DMing, I think that intimidates players is the whole concept of the world itself and running it.
Yeah.
So for a lot of new players, I always recommend actually that they do a module game because all the work is kind of done for you and you just need to read it, make your notes, prepare your sessions, and you're really good to go. For homebrew, it's a lot more work and you can feel overwhelmed.
Yeah,
At
that's
times.
for sure. That's for sure.
you're like, oh, I have to think of the gods, and I have to think of all the cities and how the continent looks, and the factions, the economy, and the politics of all of that. And it's a lot because it does take a lot of time to come up with.
Especially for one person.
Yeah.
Especially for one, like usually like in a game or like a movie, you have multiple people working on all these different aspects, and as a DM, everything falls to you. In Homebrew, like you have to come up with everything.
Yeah, but you're the writer, the producer, the director.
Everything. You do everything. That's why, like, when I did that first campaign, the Homebrew campaign, like, we'd set everything up online. And I told the guys, I was like, look, give me, like, 3 months. I already have, somewhat of a world, like, set out. I have a story and a few characters. But I need to really flesh everything out. And I took the time. I took 3 months. And, like, that's what I did after work, late nights, days off. Like, just worked on my world.
And that
was, whew.
And that's an intense commitment, and it really is deflating when you do all that work and then the players don't even get to see it.
Yeah,
because they go a completely different direction. Because you don't want to railroad them. D&D is like, there are some games that are better as a railroad, but I do not, as a policy, ever want to railroad my players.
No.
You want it to be very sandbox feely. Players have the agency.
The thing is the players are like, so you build them this world, and they dictate what happens in it.
You want them to explore it and flesh out, because one of the greatest things about this game, and that's why it's such like a great group game, is that the players will discover things about your world that you would never think of.
Right.
Just from them being themselves and having their own ideas that you just wouldn't get by yourself. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about how to run a module and how to run a homebrew. So for modules, which I think everyone should start off with modules, like I said, because all the work is done for you. So for a module, one of the first steps that you should take is read the entire book. I mean, like, it sounds simple, but it has got to be the most important step of the module process. Knowing every facet of the world that you're doing, knowing where the story is going to progress, because when you're running a D&D game, like I said, you want the characters to have agency, but you still want them to hit the plot points so that the story comes to fruition like it's written.
Right.
So one of the first things I recommend, and actually Pathfinder and Starfinder, they lay out their modules in this fashion, and I really like that they do that, because it's pretty much the best way to do it. And that's to have your different acts, like different chapters of it. Yeah. And each chapter has a significant plot point that comes into fruition at the end. So it doesn't matter how they get to the end, as long as they get there.
As long as they get there.
As long as they get there. And you, as the DM, have to kind of slowly like nudge and push them into getting there. They can take any avenue, any street. They can kill anybody they want. If it's like, very important PC or NPC and they're going to like just kill them right on the spot, just have them plane shift. Like that's a good way, I think, like, because a villain should have strong magical items just in general. So like having an amulet of plane shift is a no-brainer thing that you can just say that they have, or that if they're a spellcaster, they just have like a scroll of it or something like that. But making sure that they get to those plot points is the first thing. After you've read the whole module, you plan out your different plot points. That's number one. And then number two is, don't plan out the whole campaign first. Plan out your game session by session. So like, for instance, one of the more popular like novice games that I like to like direct people to try to run is the Temple of what's it called? It's like the Temple of the Naga Lord or Snake Lord or something like that. It's like Temple of the Snake Lord or something like that. It's an old module for advanced D&D, second edition D&D.
Okay.
And but
it's really old.
It is, but it all takes place in the village of Hamlet. And what's cool about that era of modules is that the writers detailed everything. To a fault almost, because then it gives you the idea that you have to like have a gold count for every villager in the town. But like this had like
that's crazy.
I mean, it was a very small town, so it was like 15 different like housing places. Like there's an inn, there was 2 inns, a couple houses, a shop. There was like a little wizard's hut, like stuff like that. But there's a roster of every NPC, how much gold they had, what was in every house, stuff like that. But if you're someone who's new to DMing, that's perfect, because you get to look at it and the answers to almost everything that the players can
everything's done for you, and it serves like the two purposes, where like it's easy for the DM. You know, and it kind of teaches them how, you know, how everything should be going on, you know, later if they want to homebrew. And it also serves another purpose where it makes this little village feel like bigger.
Absolutely.
Like, so you can feel like you can have multiple adventures and there's a lot of stuff going on and everybody has their own backstory.
Exactly.
That's like kind of like walking into a village in The Witcher.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. And it also like writes out like a few different ways that the players could get to a certain plot point. So it'll be like, oh, they'll encounter the cultists at this tavern, or they'll encounter the cultist on the road. If they find out a different way that, oh, we got to go to this temple, they'll find out they'll encounter the cultists like on the way to the temple, or like it just says like if you don't meet them here, you can put them here, here, or here, and it gives you an idea where you can put them.
Cool.
So like it kind of is
really
teaching you how to innovate your story plots onto the player.
It's teaching you how to, like, you know, in the moment, like how to build if something goes wrong.
Exactly. And Matt Colville has a really good like philosophy. He says 20% of your campaign should be planned, 80% should be improvised.
Yeah.
Or like some number like
sounds
that.
about right.
You have to be really good at improvising, because your players are gonna like throw curveballs at you the entire session. That's
for sure.
So when it comes to modules, that's kind of like the basis for it. You know, make sure you know everything, set up your plot points, and then be ready to innovate your players to each plot point. Because the whole point of running a module is to learn the story.
Yeah. No, the story is the most important part. And I noticed that you gave me a few tips when I started doing Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I read through it, and I was like, okay, so now I know like A to B to C to whatever. Like I know the whole progression, and that's super important. Like you said. Like you said, to sit down, read it, make sure you don't fuck anything up for later on. And I read, like, that gave me a lot to look into, and it helped me out.
Yeah, and
just simple little shit.
In that session, you even added something that was really cool that's not part of the module. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We streamed a session of the Horde of the Dragon Queen, and we had just an impromptu
that was pretty dope.
Cart race battle.
Yeah, it's a wagon battle.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
And it was no
initiative. That was cool.
Yeah.
So thinking of ways to challenge your players without standard combat, I think is another way that you need to implement modules. Just because the modules are going to have like challenges that aren't combat.
Right.
They'll have puzzles. They'll have
social encounters,
political intrigue, all that stuff. And you can really manipulate it and change it to be however you want it to be. To add your own little flavor to it. But as long as you have the guidelines, you can really make it your own.
Yeah.
And I think running a few modules is a really good way to teach yourself how you want to homebrew your game. So why don't you talk a little bit about
homebrewing?
Homebrewing, yeah. Like what's the first thing you need to do with homebrew?
So I mean, okay, so homebrew is a completely different animal.
It really is.
It's like we said before. It's a lot of work. It's a little tasking at times, but you got to take that. So you take part of moduling, or you know, playing modules, where you said you can add your flavor to it, right? This entire world, this entire realm is your flavor.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You got to build it to what you want to do. The first thing I did was I built out, like, I had an idea for my world. That's the first thing I tackled, was world building.
The map.
The places, kind of where the races were laid out, who controls what territories. That was the most important thing, because after that, then you can find out the dynamics between the races. Everything just comes to you, like. If you have, the thing about homebrewing is, like, you can't, I don't know if, like, strictly module people can do it, because you need to be, like, your mind needs to be openly super creative.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to be able to be like, well, if this is happening, what's happening over here? And, oh, shit, like, there's like 20,000 million possibilities you could think of. But the biggest thing is definitely the world building. Don't worry about characters, NPCs. Don't worry about the pantheons of the gods if you want to go that far. Because I know a lot of people homebrew and they still pull in the gods from Faerun.
Yeah, which that's very easy to do, and it does not make your game less flavorful.
No, not at all.
Because who does not like smiting evil in the name of Pelor, radiant fire coursing through your veins? Like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like, isn't that one of the most popular ones? Pelor.
Pelor is probably the most. Pelor and Vecna are probably the two most popular.
Oh yeah,
gods.
Vecna, great.
But Vecna's not Forgotten Realms. Or yeah, he's not Forgotten Realms.
He's after.
No, Vecna is Eberron or Greyhawk. I think it's Greyhawk.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's where Vecna first appeared. I think was Greyhawk.
I don't know.
But I think since they brought Vecna into Forgotten Realms, but it wasn't originally.
Okay.
But yeah, see, I actually tackle world building or homebrew a little differently. What I do is I actually work on the story first.
Okay.
So like, because D&D is a very narrative based game.
Right.
I always do because I always have an idea of what I want the world to be. It's gonna be I usually do high fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very like almost standard flavor, but then I take that and then I'll mold it later. But I have that as my base setting, and then I'll come up with what I want the story to be. So like I'll have my intro, and I'll actually come up with the ending first. I'll write out who I want the big bad to be, and I write out how I want the last battle to be.
How you want them? And then you kind of build along.
Yeah,
the way.
and I'll make it in reverse actually. So I build the last encounter. I'll build the last encounter, and then I go back to a plot point, and I put in all their like lieutenants and bosses that lead up to them, and then from there, I'll make a big bad of that plot point, and then I'll move backwards that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think that is a really cool way to flesh out your story and really give your characters direction for how you want them to progress. Because like I said before, with modules, you want them to follow the story.
Right.
And they can do whatever they want. You don't want to take away agency from them, but you still have a story to tell. And I think that is the most important part for any D&D game. Unless you're doing like a battle royale or something that's different.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting. I never thought of it that way, because when I build the world, and as I'm going, like races have wars or battles or any like disagreements.
Territories.
Yes, and I kind of build off of like I build moments off of each thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as I don't necessarily build my world to fit my story, and I don't build my story to fit my world either. You know what I mean, it kind of happens in cohesion.
Right.
Like slowly over time.
Mm-hmm. And like for me, I think the map, the world, it's not irrelevant, but like the way it's set up, I think is kind of linked. It has to be strongly linked to the story. Like, for instance, in one of my original campaigns, it was based on like a small island continent, kind of like the Australia of my homebrew world that I use. And the final battle is like deep in the Underdark.
Oh shit.
In like the center of this like continental mass next to like a volcano. So like that's where the final battle happens. So that place needs to be there. But what I'll also do is I'll tell the players, kind of like, since I have the story in mind, I'll ask the players like, okay, we're doing like, say like for that campaign specifically, this is going to be a game where demons are heavily involved. There's cultists, that kind of thing. So what I'll do is I'll have the players make their characters, and then I'll be like, where's your character from? This is the blank continent. I'll have like just an outline of the continent. I won't have countries. I won't have divisions. I won't have anything. Pick a spot. Where's your guy from? And then they'll pick it, and then I'll tell them to write just a little snippet about the place that they're from, and I'll use their idea and create that as like a city or a town or something like that.
Interesting.
One of the characters in that campaign that I ran, Sean, our current DM for our game, he was a wood elf lord from Snowdonia. So
Snowdonia.
Yeah, so I implemented it on the map, and like Snowdonia is, it's a place, it's like a bar in New York.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that little bar?
Yeah, it's a bar in New York. But no, and so like I had 5-6 players in that game, so I have 6 like cities already built, and I didn't have to do any work.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of backstory about them, and then that really gets the juices flowing for your creativity. Mm-hmm. So that's another strategy I like to use for Homebrew.
Yeah, I had it the opposite way. Mm-hmm. When I built the world for the players and we sat down for session 0, everyone was like, okay, so let's get a map of the world. I kind of gave them a breakdown of it, like over like 10 minutes, just kind of describing everything, showing them the maps. And they're like, okay, so I want to be from here. I want to be from here. Mm-hmm. I want to be from all this. So they picked like all these different places. I had, the one cool thing I thought was I had 2 orcs in my first campaign, and the orcs are from a place in my world. It was called the Outlands. Basically, it's just this like nomadic.
Sounds familiar.
This I didn't pull it from anything, but it's like a nomadic, basically like existence of orcs, and
Sounds very Conan.
Almost, yeah, but there's still a few. There was a couple capital cities and like ruins of like their old empire, but most of like the orcs, goblins, giants, they all lived in the Outlands.
Okay.
So they decided to pick from there, and then when they met with the party was like kind of sketched out with them at first,
right?
Because
they're from the Outlands.
They're from the Outlands, and they're like a little worried about them.
That sounds like a really cool. I think that's.
I wish the thing I was very upset about is the Outlands. I built the Outlands very in a very specific way, and we never got to the Outlands.
Oh man!
And I just like right before the group kind of disbanded, I built the map, like the specific like regional maps for like the different areas of Outlands, and I'd send them out to everyone, and then like 2 weeks later we were done.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're so close to one of the coolest parts of the campaign.
Yeah, and that's that kind of speaks to like my strategy of planning session by session.
Yeah.
So like I'll build out like I use the same homebrew world for most of my campaigns.
Okay.
I might make up something special for
You're
special
boring.
occasion.
Got it.
No, it's not boring. I have like 4 different continents on this.
So you just
world.
used separate
So I
continents?
use separate continents
That's cool.
in different time eras. Like I have a time. I have a timeline of my map. I've been working on this thing for like 15 years.
So
like,
you not only put them in different places, you change times.
Change
as well.
times exactly. So like
That's interesting.
So for instance, the current gamer I'm playing with one of my parties is my Cindervale campaign. That was my first game. That's my most fleshed out one. That takes place after all of the other campaigns that I've written for that world.
Huh.
It's the most recent, and actually I would say it's probably the present. Because the big bad that you fight in the end is the big bad that you fight in the very first in the timeline adventure.
Oh, really?
But they're different in how they like are and appear and all that stuff.
Okay. That's cool.
So so when it comes to planning out regions, I like to I plan out where everybody starts very heavily, and I'll maybe do like 1 or 2 of the surrounding regions, and then I'll leave everything blank.
Okay.
And then once the party is like, once I be like, and like I might have like a plot hook there. Like I'll like write down like, for instance, like everybody starts in Cindervale, which is the main capital city where everything's going down. But there might be a plot hook in the Sierra Mountains up north. So like I have nothing planned for the Sierra Mountains yet. But once I have that plot hook trigger before that session, I will plan out that whole encounter, the maps, everything, and that will be my DM homework.
That's crazy.
And then slowly doing that, that's how you build your worlds. It's not this, you don't want to have to dive in and just work tirelessly and build an entire existence of reality. You just work on it piece by piece as it comes up. And it's much easier to do it that way. It's much less intimidating. And you give yourself breaks so that you
in between
so you can get the creative juices flowing again.
I mean, it's just so interesting to see just 2 different perspectives of how DMs would handle.
Yeah, I mean, we really do it the opposite way.
Yeah, I build everything out.
You take
from
a
the
very
beginning.
video game approach, which I like that because then like you have everything in your back pocket the whole time.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of stuff.
And I'm pretty sure Matt Mercer does it that way too. I'm pretty sure Matt Mercer has the entire world and game plotted out.
Yeah, there's like, so the one thing I learned, and if you're a new DM, you'll learn this too if you're going to homebrew, is don't really ever plan for anything. Like if you try, like
that's good advice.
Like, and when I say that, I don't mean like, hey, don't prepare your game. Like,
yeah, you gotta do that.
I mean like, don't stick to like a specific like turn of events.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that because my first campaign, my first game, my players broke what I thought they were gonna do, within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
because
it always happens.
So I put them in a town center of a very popular city, and there was a hanging happening. So I thought, okay, maybe they'll probably just watch this, or maybe they'll walk away. I figured nothing else, but. And then I was going to have bandits come in on them.
Right.
And then there was going to be this whole plot hook from right there.
Right.
They decided to converse with the executioner and the political leader that's, having this hanging in front of everybody. They're trying to be like, well, why is he being hanged? Oh, like, who is he? Like, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Were they new players?
Yeah.
So I think that... And you were new DM at the time, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's actually very common, because if you're a new player, and you're being presented with a scenario, new players think this is something I'm supposed to interact with. I have to interact with this.
Yeah,
and I think,
that's true.
And as a DM, I think that's a big trope that really can knock you off the rails. Because you want to give them like a cinematic moment maybe, or like you want to like give them something to like kind of show them the power level of something they'll fight later. But if they're new players, they think I have to go in there right now and do something because that's what this game is about, doing stuff.
That's true.
And it really can kind of jumble everything up and make things crazy, which isn't a bad thing. It can be a lot of fun. You'll have a great memory. Like, oh my God, you guys stopped an execution and then the bandits came in and robbed everybody while you were doing something.
They didn't even stop. They were just questioning.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? Why are you hanging him? Why are you doing this in public? And then my bard tried to charm the executioner.
That's all good fun though.
It is. It
players.
was hilarious, but it's like at the same time, like I had planned out a very specific route.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I thought, okay,
You
here's
tried to
these
railroad
two.
your players.
Here's,
No, I get it.
Not railroad. I was like, here's the two ways it's gonna go. In my mind, I was like, it's two ways.
Yeah.
So then I planned for those two options, and they took the third option, which I had not planned for.
Right.
So then I was like, oh shit. Then immediately game one, I learned like you can't really plan it. It's kind of like build it little by little, but improvise in between, and then build off that improvisation.
And also, like, you don't want to railroad your players ever. You want them to always have agency.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's a good rule of thumb to try to never tell your players no. Like, like it's always better to say you can try. You can definitely try. But like,
number one phrase in my group because they always ask ridiculous things.
Exactly, and every party does. But I think one of the greatest strategies you can use as a DM, especially a new DM where you're still trying to get a hang of world building and running games, is telling a player that you can try that, and then just tell them their roll wasn't high enough. Right? Like it sounds sneaky, and it is a little sneaky, but it's a very political way to allow them to do what they're trying, like allow them to try to do what they want to do, and still not have them go off the rails and do crazy stuff. Now, you should only use this tactic for very specific things. Like for instance, let's use your scenario. There's a hanging in this town center, and they want to charm the executioner to stop the execution. Just make his roll really high so that the execution can happen. Because they're what, level 1 part characters?
Yeah.
If they're like a level 10 wizard, then that shit doesn't fly.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
But because he's like a level 0 NPC. But just make his roll adequate to whatever the DC is, and he's not charmed. And then it goes on how you want it to go. And you should only use this tactic very selectively. Use your better judgment. Try not to railroad the players. But if it's something that you think is very crucial to the story and their experience, it's for their benefit, not your benefit. I think that's a fine line you need to find for yourself.
Yeah, that's the hard thing to do is like if it's something that's super important to your story and they're trying to break it like in front of you, but you don't, like the thing is like you don't really want to necessarily be like, okay, he's too powerful or something along those lines.
No, but that's why you roll behind the screen. You fudge the roll a little bit. You roll like, oh wow, he rolled an 18, so he resists your charm. Luckily for you though, he doesn't know he was trying to be charmed, so he's not going to call the guards on you. You can give it to him that way too. So like, and it's like with new players, it's really nice to give them that little like, hey, you could have gotten in a lot of trouble here in game.
Yeah.
And I can't not kill you if you're being a dumbass.
Yeah,
Because that's the world that you're in right now.
That's the other thing is too, like I think homebrew or module, you need to let your players know right off the bat that your actions have consequences.
Yeah, and
you're not going to be a superhero.
And don't be afraid to down everyone in the party but one player.
Yeah.
That'll teach them a lot. Like, holy shit, we almost died from that idiot decision we made. Or maybe Taking 20 is a great show that I watch a lot, and he does kind of like DM 911s where he'll like address like a caustic topic that happens in the group. And one that he was talking about was he got an email from a guy that was like, hey, my players are constantly spitting in the face of the authorities, and I've put them in jail so many times, I don't know what to do anymore. So he was like, oh, maybe you can like banish them to another plane of existence, or like, take all their magic, not all their magic, but take like their most powerful magic item away for a certain amount of time so that they learn their lesson kind of thing.
I would have sicked mercenaries on them.
Well, that's something you can do too. Have hired mercenaries just chasing them forever, and they have to constantly be on the run.
I actually had something like that in my game. They were starting to like steal from everybody. Like, I mean, everyone.
And at some point, you're gonna get caught.
And like, yeah, and they were
You
getting
roll a one.
they were getting caught. But the thing was, this was a party of 6, and when they were doing this, they were like level 4. So like a barbarian, a fighter, a bard, a wizard, a rogue.
That's a stacked
And
party.
a ranger.
That's a stacked
Yeah.
party.
So they were getting away with a lot of shit. So what I did is like over like 5 or 6 sessions, I had like basically I had people watching them. They were like bounty hunters, pretty much, that were hunting them for all the crimes they've committed all over the city.
Right.
And so eventually, like, one of them found out that they were being followed. They had no idea. So they were starting to like lose their shit a little. And it kind of checked them a bit until I had them one night. The bounty hunters broke in and tied them up.
Right.
And took all their shit and told them if they did, certain things again,
They'd get it back.
Told them that if they kept on with how they were acting, that them losing some of their items was going to be the least of their worries.
Right.
You got to check your party a little bit.
Yeah, and when you're a new DM, especially in a homebrew world, and even in a modular world, because in a lot of modules they'll have like, it written down like, oh, if they do anything of this caliber, the guards come in. Like some will be like that, but most of them kind of keep it to, your imagination. But if you're a new DM, it's kind of hard to know to do these things because you want everybody to have fun. You're running the game. You don't want them to not have a good time.
I still think that builds a funny moment.
It does. It does. Yeah. Oh yeah. When everybody's hogtied and like the DM has all the control over you. It is an exhilarating moment. But yeah, you just trying to come up with creative ways to tax your party. Make sure that they know that their actions have consequences. And if you can't think of any, I definitely recommend looking them up. There's a bunch of great channels on YouTube where they give advice. Nerdarchy, Taking 20, Matt Colville, WebDM. These guys have loads more experience than I ever have, and they really have a lot of great episodes where they talk about how to handle crazy parties and how to give them different challenges that are different angles and that aren't just combat and political intrigue. And all these kinds of things, and really just doing some research and enjoying the content that's being, because it's good content.
Yeah.
Just enjoying it and delving into it, you'll really grow as a DM, especially a new DM, and you'll come off as a much more well versed. And it's not about that; it's about having fun.
Right. Exactly.
But it will improve your game significantly.
Yeah. I mean, the better you are as a DM, the better your game is going to be.
Yeah, and the more fun everybody has.
Yeah. Exactly.
And just constantly playing, I think, is another thing. If you're the kind of person that you only play like once a month, it's not going to be as fast as a process.
Yeah. It's going to be really slow.
Really slow. If you're doing homebrew, you're going to have a lot more time to build your world.
Which, at least that's good.
Yeah. But if you're running a modular game, it's going to feel like it's taking a long time. And then you as the DM will get bored. Or you'll forget things. That's the worst, is when you're DMing and you didn't take notes 100%. And then you just like, all right, guys, do you remember where we are? Who was the name of that NPC? What voice did he have? That kind of stuff.
See, that's why I'm so happy we're streaming Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Yeah.
So, because
we have a catalog.
like, I could just go back and be like, okay, here's this bit. I got it. All
right. Yeah. I mean, those are some pretty big. They're very different types of games.
Yeah.
And I think modular games are, personally for me, some of my favorite games to play, because with a homebrew game, it's not like you can telegraph what the DM is doing, but like something will happen, you'll be like, that's totally something that they would do just because you know them. Or if it's a random group of people, it's not the case. But if it's with your friends, you can sometimes be like, oh, that's cool that you did that. That's something you would do.
Right.
But with a module, like for instance, the Red Hand of Doom, one of the greatest modules ever written by Wizards. I think it was Wizards. Yeah, it was Wizards that did it. And for third edition.
Even remember.
For third edition. No, it's so good. And like what I like about that module is the concept of it is that a hobgoblin army is invading from the north. Okay. And they have overwhelming numbers, and he's allied himself with these really like a lich and all these really powerful allies.
Oh shit.
And you have to stop all of these like very powerful generals so that the final battle isn't as strong, but you can fail at your objectives, and it all dictates how the final battle is.
That's dope.
And while you're doing things, the book tells you that certain things are happening in other parts of the map. So like Like while you're going to the underwater city, he's moving his forces in to go to this place, and then you'll catch word of it, and you have to ride out there and meet them right away. So like it's really like fast paced, time is of the essence, war kind of game.
That's cool. I like.
So
that.
like modules that are like of that caliber are just some of the greatest experience because you have professional writers creating these really rich, tense, emotionally driven moments that is hard to come up with as a homebrew DM. But by playing them, you learn how to manipulate the rules in the system to do that.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
I want to play that now.
It's a really that's one of the modules that I want to play on the stream because it's a classic module that, and since D&D is like so like newly popular again, all these old modules I think are just waiting to be discovered by all these new players because I've enjoyed a lot of great modules in my time, and I think it's your time.
Yeah, there's one I kept hearing about that was House of Horrors or something.
That's a show, I thought.
No, there's a module. I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's apparently I think it's 2nd edition, and it's like one of
Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, that's like one of the most difficult ones.
Yeah,
of all time.
they remade it. They remade it for 5th edition. Yeah, it's stupid hard. You
wanna play that
like
so
there are traps in there where you literally can't do anything and you die.
That's crazy.
And like half of it is luck, just getting through the dungeon, and then at the end you have to fight a lich.
Dope. I want to do that. I want to get through it.
But yeah, no, that's a crazy one. I haven't done that, but I've done like White Plume Mountain. Is a lot of fun.
Okay.
What's another good module? Horde of the Dragon Queen actually is a really good module.
Yeah,
I never finished it.
I've read it, so I've read it out pretty. Like, I would say I'm a good way through it already. I'm doing it slowly. This module is awesome.
Yeah, Castle Greyhawk is a really good module.
Okay.
A lot of the 3rd edition modules are some of my favorites. But I didn't get to play a lot of them. I played like 2 or 3 of them.
Okay.
But
I want to play some more because Horde of the Dragon Queen got me interested. Mines of Phandelver is not bad either.
No, it's a pretty well written adventure especially for new players.
Yeah, for something that's in the starter kit.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous. It's pretty good.
I know we've done at least 10 sessions now.
Of Mines of Phandelver? We've done more than that.
You think so? I don't think we've done more than 10 sessions.
When did we start?
2 months ago, 3 months ago.
No.
We've also missed weeks. We haven't played every week.
we didn't start 2 months ago.
It's regardless.
We
just got to level 4.
I was still in my apartment when we started.
Right.
And like not even thinking about moving out. Mm-hmm. So it's been a while.
Yeah. You've been here for 2 months.
Yeah, so we've easily been playing
4 months.
longer.
4 months
at
probably.
least, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a well written module. There's a lot of like intrigue, like one of the
we almost died 2 weeks ago.
Spoilers if you haven't played Mines of Phandelver and you're planning on doing it, just mute right now. One of the coolest like moments was when you find out that Yarnu Ulrich is Glassstaff.
Glassstaff,
yeah. I was like, oh shit, we were looking for him.
He's like right in front.
I had that aha moment. It's just
yeah, that was good though.
Yeah,
that was
so
awesome.
That's why I like modules. And some modules aren't written very well either. There are a lot of bad with the good. Like there are some modules where they'll just be like, this is everything that's there, but there's no direction. Right. Which that kind of sucks. I remember I played one for 3.5. It was like I can't remember the name of it. You had to like go into a swamp where there's lizard folk, and you had to like delve into this like downtrodden, forgotten tower and like do some stuff. But it didn't tell you how you were supposed to do it. It didn't tell you what the encounters really were. Like it told you the battles, but that was it. It was kind of bland and boring. Terrible. Yeah. So it's like some modules aren't written very well, but there are a lot of really good classic ones that I think everybody should try, especially if you're a new DM.
That's for sure. I want to get to more eventually.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about Horde of the Dragon Queen and then getting into Rise of Tiamat eventually.
Yeah, and I bet you guys are excited about Homebrew because I'm bringing back an oldie but a goodie from my personal catalog.
I like homebrews. I love homebrews. I like breaking homebrew.
You're not going to break my game.
I'm going to break
it to you.
I'm going to break it in seconds.
Oh, God. I would like to see you try.
Vivek kills himself.
That's not gonna stop me none. You can just roll up a new character
in front of the entire group.
Yeah, that would be depressing. But that concludes our podcast for today, guys. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hoard this link out to all your friends. Remember, stay nerdy.
Yeah, roll for it, baby.
80%.
80%. You picked up a percentile.
I did, but 80% is good.
Yeah, that's good.